permission to start bringing down the number of people at shelters by imposing a 60-day limit.
All right, that move impacts thousands of migrant families staying at these facilities, including the controversial one on Randall's Island.
The city says that many of these migrants are able to find a new place to live, whether that's with family or friends. The advocates say they are very concerned that this will lead to an uptick in street homelessness.
Do you have any family here? Anything to care? So you'd be by yourself?
Yeah, it's difficult for me because my baby is too little.
The number of asylum seekers being housed is shrinking. City Hall says limits on shelter stays are being strongly enforced.
I don't call them eviction notices. I call them time limits.
It's not financially sustainable, and it's just not the right things to do. People should not be in shelters their entire lives.
The move comes after officials promised to crack down on illegal tent encampments in Randall's Island Park, many set up by migrants whose time at the city-run shelter has expired.
Shelters have always been designed to be a temporary stopgap until families can...
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachaha, Quadash. I want to give double honors to the head apostle, now there's a great millstone who rule well and teach well. Peace and blessing to you, sincere Akim, that are pushing this truth all over the four corners of the earth, week in and week out, in all truth and sincerity. So according to officials, the time for these so-called migrants, at least in New York City, has run out. And 40 plus migrants, give or take, have or are about to become homeless, as the time has run out for you to be facilitated in these various different shelter and programs that have been set up for you. And just like Sirach, the 12th chapter speaks about, the sweet words that these devils have spoken unto these various different people that they have brought over here, and they have opened up the borders, and they have speaking very sweetly to you concerning jobs, concerning incomes, concerning housing, concerning benefits, concerning support for you and your families coming over here to the Americas. But there was an alternate motive behind all that.
Get on their feet, but without inclusive and supportive housing solutions, our shelter system will remain overburdened and our families will continue to fall through the cracks.
So there's a mass eviction going on out of these shelters of these so-called migrants, and their benefits and their programming, or their programs that have been set up for them to be sustainable and have food, have some type of income to ultimately be able to survive over here, is coming to an end. And if the homeless crisis wasn't already bad enough in America, and especially over there in New York City, this is just going to add to that immensely. And we know how America works. Things start in one state and they move to the other various states.
So the same families invited into the New York City shelter system are now being invited to leave. But even though the city has spent over $5 billion on housing since this crisis began, what these forced evictions of families tell us is that absolutely zero people have benefited from this humanitarian crisis, except whoever got the $5 billion. Yet as bus after bus from the southern border arrived in New York, we heard from many of our elected officials how great the asylum crisis would be for everyone involved. We were told people fleeing poverty would have fantastic new lives here in America. We were told new workers were on their way, which would benefit local businesses facing employee shortages. And we were told that New York City would thrive and flourish like never before as we welcomed in the next generation of New Yorkers. But
this is Sirach, the 12th chapter, and the 16th verse, and it reads, "An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit." So So this is what we see going on. Esau has spoke very, very sweet words to these people concerning jobs, concerning housing and establishments, fleeing their situation in these various different lands concerning poverty. And they have come over to America to be in a very similar situation, from poverty to poverty, even though the poverty in those various different lands is a greater poverty, so to speak. Still, they're in the same predicament, in the same condition, living on the streets, being in a homeless state, not having any type of job or income. And we knew that there was an agenda behind all of these so-called migrants being allowed and the borders being opened up unto them. And we're starting to see more and more what Esau's plans and his agendas are. Everything's starting to come for full circle, just like the scriptures speak about in Luke, I believe it's the 8th chapter. All the secrets will be brought to light. It reads, "An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood." So we're seeing this opportunity.
Crisis would be for everyone involved. We were told people fleeing poverty would have fantastic new lives here in America. We were told new workers were on their way, which would benefit local businesses facing employee shortages. And we were told that New York City would thrive and flourish like never before as we welcomed in the next generation of New Yorkers. But none of that has turned out to be true, and everyone has been lied to about this asylum crisis, including the very people it's named after. Because all those jobs we were told awaited the 212,000 people who've come through New York seeking asylum never materialized. And if you visit any shelter in town, you'll see the sad results of mass unemployment that still plague many asylum seekers who were promised a better future. Yet even those with work authorization can't get meaningful jobs in New York City's economy that would allow them to rent $5,000 apartments. And sadly, many folks now find themselves stuck permanently at the bottom of the city's economy.
This is the definition of opportunity. It says a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. And, just like one of these major leaders have said, never let a crisis go to waste. And some of these crises, Esau has induced them. It says chance. Salakia. It says an opening, a possibility. And this is what Esau is looking to capitalize off of concerning his agendas. Salakia.
Still plague many asylum seekers who were promised a better future. Yet even those with work authorization can't get meaningful jobs in New York City's economy that would allow them to rent $5,000 apartments. And sadly, many folks now find themselves stuck permanently at the bottom of the city's economy. Which brings us to the real reason why the city is now evicting everyone from its shelters, including families with children, because the asylum crisis has backfired, not just on the people who are now homeless, but also on the city itself. Because although everyone getting evicted from these shelters moved in with the best of intentions, New York was not able to deliver on them. And the city has been stuck providing perpetual assistance to 50,000 families on a monthly basis for over a year. But because of this controversial new eviction plan, luxury hotels like the one down the street here are going to be cleared out in just...
This is Sirach chapter 12, and I'm going to start in verse 10. This is Sirach 12 and 10, and it reads, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." And the majority of these people, these so-called migrants, are Israelites. And they put trust in Esau, Edom, his system, America, etc. And they were ignorant to the fact that they were dealing with the devil, the deceiver of all deceivers. Verse 11, "Though he humble himself and go crouching," this man humbled himself and crouching down, portraying that he's here to help you, that he's concerned with your overall well-being, he's concerned with your situation in these various different lands. when he has had a heavy influence and a heavy hand in the condition and the various different things that you're going through in the lands that you have came from. Yet take good heed and beware of him. And this is what the majority of our people have failed to do, is to take heed. It says, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. We have to remember that this is the devil, the red man. When you go into that word red, you know, it's basically a warning. Okay? That's why they put the color red on these stoplights and these stop signs, because it's supposed to trigger a signal in the mind and the brain to be alert, to be on guard. It says, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. This is the same serpent from the garden. His intentions have not changed. It says, verse 12, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he hath stand in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Let's skip down to verse 16. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. So Esau speaks these sweet words, but in his mind, he's got a whole different thing going on. He has a whole structure complex, a whole different thinking program than what's coming out of his mouth. They come together in these secret councils, and they have devised and worked up these things which we're seeing play out. You think this whole migrant situation wasn't drawn up on paper years and years ago? Come on, man. It says he will weep with his eyes. You know, he pushes that the situation didn't work out how he said it would, or how he planned, because this, because of that, because of the economy, because this happened. He puts the blame on anything and everything else but on him. And this was, and his intentions were never to help you. His intentions were never to bring you over here and, you know, allow you to thrive in America, grow businesses, live happily ever after. All right? It's all a fairy tale, man. And this is what this man speaks. He speaks nothing but lies and fairy tales. And the majority of our people, they believe this shit. It says, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. And ultimately, that's what he seeks. He's going to use various things that he set up as an opportunity for that bloodshed, man. Revelation 12:12, he's about to come down hard on you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So he's setting himself up. Verse 17, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find them there first. This is what we're seeing. He brought you over here. Now your benefit program has ran out. Now your shelter program has ran out. Now you're being thrown on the streets. And who do you have to blame? None other than the one that brought you over here, Esau Edom. Okay? He's right there putting these things into play, forming these various different laws. And also in the midst of this whole Trinidad Agua gang situation, more fuel is being fed to that fire. Because with this whole gang situation, now you have an influx of these so-called migrants being thrown onto the streets. A lot of them are going to join these various different gangs. A lot of them are going to be perceived as gang members, so to speak. All right? A lot of them are going to resort to taking matters into their own hands. 2 Ezra the 15th chapter. Because of the situation they're in. Just trying to survive. It says, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. Him so-called giving these so-called migrants these various different things, that was just pretending. All right? That was just his pretending matter for something deeper down the line. Ultimately, this goes hand in hand with his his schemes, his plans, ultimately his new world order. All right. It says, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He's putting the blame on y'all. He said, this ain't our fault. This is y'all fault. We gave y'all money. We gave y'all shelter. We gave y'all this. We gave y'all that. It ain't our fault y'all couldn't make it here. It ain't our fault y'all didn't find a job. It ain't our fault y'all can't survive, that y'all can't pay for these $5,000 apartments. And out of all the places to go, New York would be the hardest place to establish yourself coming from these various different parts of the earth. With, the housing market is crazy out there. Trying to find an apartment is crazy out there. The price of everything is out of this world compared to these various different lower states. It says, verse 18, he will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. So this is what we're seeing. We're seeing this devil change his countenance. He went from a smile and open arms to now he's crossed his arms and he's got a weird look on his face. And they're looking at him like, hold on. This ain't the same guy from a year ago. He got a different look. Things have changed. His eyebrows are going down, right? Let's go to Ezekiel, the 35th chapter real quick. And we can close out on this as well. And I'll leave the link in the description box of this video. And this is going to spread over the various different states. More migrants are going to become homeless. And like I said, this is adding fuel to the whole Tren de Aragua Venezuelan gang situation and all these other various different so-called migrant gangs, which we know Esau is behind all that. Okay, because how are these people so-called distinguishing who is a part of a gang, a so-called migrant gang or not? You got gangs that are established over in the United States before these so-called migrants were brought over here that were considered foreign gangs. You got these Northern Kingdom gangs that are, so-called Latino gangs. All right. So what's the distinguishing factor between a so-called migrant gang and just a gang that is considered non-migrant? All right. So these people that are being thrown on the streets, they're going to get, wrapped all into that as well. A lot of these so-called migrants that are homeless are going to be considered or being categorized as one of these so-called migrant gangs. This is Ezekiel 35:1. It's moreover the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. And all over the four corners of the earth, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai has raised up men that are constantly, consistently, week in and week out, prophesying against this place, man. Not holding their peace day or night. And you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans better take heed, man. Let's skip down to verse 5. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of their sword. Of the sword. So this man has had a perpetual hatred. When you go into that word perpetual, it goes into long-lasting, ancient, everlasting, forever and ever hatred for you Israelites. It hasn't changed, man. This man still despises you, hates you, and he seeks your blood. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity and the time that their iniquity had an end. This man don't want to let you go, man. And he never has intentions to let you go. But the majority of our people have seemed to think that this man has had a change of heart. This man didn't have no change of heart. He's just changed his strategy. He's changed his look. And by the means of his witchcraft and various other matters, he's captivated these people in society and bewitched them and bamboozled them into thinking that he's not who he used to be, nor is he who the prophets on the highways and byways all over the four quarters of the earth or prophesying and telling you Israelites who he is according to the scriptures. Lord willing, that was edifying. Till the next time, Shalom.